report, everybody. Here, Michael Cohen with the Sports Talk Nation. And, of course, this is the biggest story of the baseball offseason. The biggest domino that everyone was waiting to fall has fallen, as we all know, from this morning. Aaron Judge is heading back to the Bronx. He has re-signed with the New York Yankees for 9 years at $360 million as the Yankees keep their big-time slugger, their record-setting slugger, of course, the 62 home runs, in tow, for that matter, for the foreseeable future. And if he wasn't already, he was already the face of the franchise as it is since 2017. Now definitely is the face of the franchise. You know, he'll end up being the captain of the team at some point. We haven't seen that from a Yankee since Derek Jeter. So he is going to be the guy. And, of course, the big question for the Yankees is, when does this team, this organization which has now 3 players with $300 million contracts, with Garrett Cole, with Giancarlo Stanton, now with Aaron Judge, when is this team finally going to get over the hump of the Houston Astros, and even, in some cases, in some years, even the Red Sox or the Rays, and finally get to a World Series out of the American League? That's the big question that they still have to answer, and it's the question the Yankee fans have been asking for years. When is this team finally going to get to a World Series? Well, the Yankees hope that they can finally do that within within the next decade, as Aaron Judge is going to be around for a very long time. The Judge, I mean, this was a wild process, because for a little while, it looked like it was either going to be the Giants or it was going to be the Yankees. Then there was the report that got leaked out, as you all know, late last night from John Heyman, that Judge was going to the Giants, and people started posting pictures of Judge in a Photoshop Giants uniform, and like, wait a minute, is this really going down? And then, of course, that was proven false, that he had not signed with the Giants. And as it turns out, the Giants may have had a better offer on the table, and even the San Diego Padres got into the mix, according to Andy Martino of SNY, and they're pushing, $400 million. So Hal Steinbrenner got on the phone, channeled his father, and said to Judge, listen, do you want to be a Yankee? And Judge says, yes, I want to be a Yankee, but he wanted the 9th year. Hal Steinbrenner gives him the 9th year. The Yankees' original offer was 8 years, $320 million. Instead, he gets the 9 years, $360 million to stay in New York, $40 million a year. The Yankees had to have him back. I think the Yankees need Judge more than Judge needed the Yankees in this case, because without him, I mean, this year he was their most productive hitter. He was obviously their most powerful hitter in the middle of the order. Without him, there's a lot of inconsistency in that lineup, as we all know. So they had to bring him back, for that matter. Again, he is really the face of that franchise. If he left after hitting 62 home runs, that would have been a huge embarrassment for the Yankees to see Aaron Judge walk if that had happened. It would have been an embarrassment for Hal Steinbrenner. It would have been embarrassing for the front office and Brian Cashman. Of course, Yankee fans never would have let anybody forget it. So now you can let that all run to the wayside. Now it's about trying to fill up that roster and trying to win. And that's really the bottom line here for New York. You got to give Judge a lot of credit. He took the gamble on himself. Yankees offered him, before the season started, 7 years and $213 million. He said, nope, don't want it. That's not enough. And instead had the best season of his career and added, let's see here, $213 million to now $360 million. That's about $150 million. Yeah, he just added about $150 million to his payroll right there for having an outstanding season in 2022. So good for him for putting the gamble on himself and really putting the Yankees' feet to the fire in that regard. So the question is going to be for the Yankees is, what do they do next? What do they do next? Do they go out and get a Carlos Rodon? Do they go after Chris Bassett, who's still a free agent? Kodai Senga is still a free agent, last I checked. Do the Yankees go out there, I think, really focus on pitching? I think that's what they have to focus on next. We saw they got Tommy Canley back, a reliever, to help out that bullpen, which certainly is going to need a couple more arms. So I think that's where the Yankee focus will be, is now on pitching more than it is offense, although don't be surprised they sprinkle in a couple of bats here and there. Yankees get their guy. Judge gets to stay where he wanted to stay all along, and that's in the Bronx with the Yankees, so everything is good there. Now, as far as the Mets are concerned, they have been busy as well today as they go out and sign Jose Quintana, pitcher from the St. Louis Cardinals. Quintana has been around a long time. He's been with everybody. He's been with the White Sox, he's been with the Cubs, he's been with the Angels, he's been with the Giants, he's been with the Pirates, he's been with now with the Cardinals. Basically, everybody in the middle of the country who's been any team you can think of in the middle of the country, Jose Quintana's probably been there. He's a pretty good pitcher. He's a starting pitcher, left-handed, strikes out a lot of guys. He is 33 years old, but it's a 2-year deal at only $26 million. And I know the Mets lose Taijuan Walker, who signed a 4-year deal with Philadelphia, but that's 4 years and $72 million. That's a lot for a guy who was the middle of your rotation pitcher. So I think from that standpoint, the Mets obviously save some money that they can use elsewhere. Brandon Nimmo, Kodai Senga, 2 guys that are still out there. Like to see the Mets try to make a play on one of those guys, or maybe both of them for that matter. But the Mets save some money there, and they get a middle to bottom of the rotation starter in Quintana, who's a veteran, who's been around, and yes, is left-handed. That's always a plus, especially when over the last several years, the Mets have been righty dominant as far as their starting pitching is concerned. So I do like the Quintana signing from that standpoint. Mets also made a trade. They made a trade for a lefty reliever, a reliever from the Tampa Bay Rays, in Brooks Raley. Had an okay career, has a 4.64 ERA. He was good last year, but again, with relievers, you never know what you're going to get with them from one year to the next, especially middle relief guys. He's a lefty specialist, so he's going to come in tight situations where you need to get a left-handed hitter out. Can't hurt to add that kind of piece. I think Met fans right now, everyone's kind of waiting for them to make that next big move. So Brandon Nimmo is still a free agent right now. The Mets have not made any kind of move on him. If they don't bring him back, that's going to be a big loss because there's not a lot out there as far as center field help is concerned. Nimmo showed a lot last year. It was the best year of his career. He showed some power. Of course, he's more of a doubles hitter, more of a triples hitter. A guy who gets on base a lot, draws a lot of walks, and of course is improved defensively in the outfield and center field. Of course, that great play he made in center field against the Dodgers in August, notwithstanding that play. So it's going to be hard for the Mets to find that kind of replacement for a guy who is a homegrown player on the free agent market if they do not bring him back. But Scott Boras, his agent, is going to go for the highest bid. There are a lot of teams that are in on him. The Giants, the Angels, the Blue Jays, those are just some of the teams that have been rumored to be in on Nimmo, so I don't know if the Mets are going to bring him back. If they don't, as I said, that's going to be a big, big loss. And then as far as Kodai Senga, it's kind of funny that Buck Showalter said some nice things about Senga, said that he was impressed with him when they spoke to him, basically gave the impression that he would like the Mets to bring him in. We'll see what happens there. It is ironic that Senga has the same agent as Quintana, so maybe that means that something's going to happen soon. You would like to see the Mets go out there and bring him in. If you base it on just what we've seen, just stat-wise, he's very impressive. Of course, pitching in Japan all those years. He's a strikeout machine. You also have to like the fact that he is 29 going on 30, so he would be a good investment from that standpoint, you would have to imagine. He is highly touted coming over from Japan. We'll see what happens. Of course, a lot of teams are in on him as well. So that's where we are, folks. Aaron Judge, again, is the big story. He played his cards right. He got what he wanted. He stays a Yankee for life, basically. And the Mets, well, we're just kind of waiting to see what they're going to do next. Like and subscribe. We'll talk to you next time.